everyone. Welcome back to From Hello to Help, a podcast series where we engage in meaningful conversations about resources essential to the daily lives of Michiganders. I'm your host, Sarah Kyle. This month is very special to us as we celebrate 211 Day on February 11th. This is our national opportunity to amplify the vital role that 211 plays in helping Michiganders access critical health and human services. To further educate us on 211's history and immeasurable impact, I am beyond thrilled to have my good friend and true champion of this work, Hassan Hammoud. Hassan's journey with 211 is legendary, starting at a local 211 in Michigan, then serving as our executive director here at Michigan 211, and now bringing that wealth of experience to his role as senior manager of essential services at Ford Philanthropy. Woo, Hassan, I love this because during our conversation today, we're going to look back at where 211 has been, talk about where we're going, and most importantly, we're going to celebrate the real heroes who make this work possible every single day. Hassan, you know, I have the biggest love for you, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. You've seen 211 from every angle, from local to state. You are renowned nationally for the work you did at 211 and still are doing in philanthropy. If you look back on your early days, what's the biggest change you've seen to how 211 serves?
Let me just start by saying thank you so much for having me today. This is such an honor and a pleasure to be a part of this. 211, I started at 211. It's in my roots. It's where I started professionally. It's where I started as an intern when I was working on my master's degree in social work. So I grew up with 211. So very happy to answer this question. Looking back at my early days as a team member on the ground with a local United Way and local 211, the biggest change isn't just what we do, it's how we do it. We've really moved from being a series of localized independent contact centers to becoming a unified tech-enabled statewide system. In the beginning, our work was often sequential and siloed. If a resident in one county needed help, that crossed regional lines, the collaboration was often manual. It was phone calls, paper referrals, disconnected databases. Today, a lot of that friction has been replaced by technological connective tissue that allows us to really function as a single cohesive entity.
And all for the people we serve, right? That's the downright basic of it, and why it's just thrilling to see where we're going. If we are really looking at 211 Day, to the average person, 211 might be a phone number. To others, we know, you and I know, it is really a lifeline. What does 211 Day mean to you personally? After all of this time, all of your experience, what does it mean to you, Hassan?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, for me, 211 Day has really evolved from a simple date on the calendar into a celebration of the invisible infrastructure of care. There's so much that goes into lifting up a system like 211. To the average person, 211 is a three-digit number. But after all these years, I see it as the digital front door to a massive interconnected system. When I look at 211 Day now, I don't just see a phone line. I see a masterclass in multi-entity collaboration powered by sophisticated technology. It's incredible to see where we were 15, 20 years ago and where we are today.
And everyone who's listening can hear your passion, which I think is why this is such an exciting conversation for me. And having worked with you and for you, I love this. We're really trying to focus on the heroes of 211. And there are so many heroes here, but we also know it's the heart, right? Can you talk about the heroes of this work? Call specialists, people who have just stepped up in this world and what that means and why it's so unique in this world of philanthropy.
Yeah, I think the uniqueness is the people itself, right? I mean, this is a collaboration of people and technology, of the harmony between technological sophistication and empathy. And really, those air traffic controllers, those 211 call handlers, are the air traffic controllers of human services. When we talk about the heroes of 211, we're really talking about those individuals who sit at the intersection of that human empathy and the systemic complexity that most people struggle to navigate. These specialists, they're really the heartbeat of our mission. But today, in today's world, they're also something more. They're expert navigators of a vast integrated digital ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't say amen enough. If we were sitting in a church, absolutely, you get it, right? You understand that those real heroes do so much. And really, during your time as executive director here at Michigan 211, you saw the system face really big, unprecedented, right? Our favorite word, challenges. I know, like the pandemic. How do you see, or how did we help prove that 211 is resilient during those, historic moments?
Yeah, I've got this gray beard to prove it, actually. So,
Thank God for a hair dye.
the pandemic was really, in my perspective, it was the ultimate stress test for our vision of an integrated safety net system. It really forced us to prove that 211 wasn't just a phone number, that it was a resilient tech-based infrastructure capable of anchoring the entire state's response in a time of absolute chaos. Our resilience during those heroic moments really wasn't just about working harder. It was about leaning into our technology to enable radical collaboration across every level of government and community service. Quite frankly, we were inching towards that collaboration, but it was an explosion for us. It really forced all of us to jump in head first to something that we were all moving towards, just slower than slower than we were before the pandemic. So I think that in doing that, we really were able to highlight several things. One was the power of a unified digital system, right? Just the ability that we were able to move at such a scale that we couldn't before. Radical integration with state leadership, right? During the pandemic, 211 became a formal extension of the state's emergency response system. We moved from being a partner to being pretty much fully integrated within the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services response strategy. We were the official hotline of COVID. We leaned into our integrated service delivery platform where we were able to feed real-time data directly to state leaders. So I would say this wasn't just a collaboration. It was really a systemic merger of efforts at a statewide level.
Do you mind me sharing with you a personal thank you? I don't know I'm sure you remember it, but how impactful it was to me. So during the pandemic, I was at one of our local centers, and this work stays with your heart. And we had the pandemic, we had the shutdown, and then you might remember in 2020 we had that flooding in mid-Michigan. And it was, thank God, not deadly, but it was devastating. And we were the first national disaster declared after it was a mess. And I'll never forget, over and over and over, you would send messages from Michigan. You would just even text messages. Your team was at our beck and call, really supporting that center. And I would say even nationally, right? We had help from other states. And I love that. You had mentioned that system that comes together and works well for people. And that was the hardest, I think, professional time of my life. And the only thing that really worked well was the connections that we have. So I'll just say thank you to that. And I would 100% agree. That technology was the piece we needed to connect humans, which is what our goal is. So thank you. I needed to make sure that the world knows just how awesome it is to be part of this team. But we'll move on from Sarah's stuff to tell me about a little bit more about how is the background at 211 influence the work now at Ford Philanthropy? How does 211 data help? Is there any, tell me what you're seeing now in your role at Ford.
Yeah. People often say like they feel like every position they've had has prepared them better for the role they're in. And like, I couldn't imagine my journey. It exemplifies that in so many ways, right? So transitioning from leadership of Michigan 211 and for very short time, the Michigan Association of United Ways over to Ford Philanthropy really felt like moving from being the architect of the safety net to being the engine of community mobility. And my background in 211, it really just didn't influence my work at Ford. It provided a blueprint for how a global corporation can really drive systemic change. And This experience has really shaped my perspective on how we use data to drive impact. And I can highlight a couple of those examples, right? Moving from siloed giving into a systemic solution. And at 211, I learned that a person's needs are really never isolated. If someone's calling about food, they often have transportation or housing issues as well, which anybody in the 211 system can recognize that, right? But that taught me that effective philanthropy must be cross-functional. Those same lessons and those same issues apply to the work I'm doing now. Now I apply that same lens to the work I'm doing at the philanthropy. So we don't just look at a single problem. We really look at the interconnectedness of systems and how we can bring forward all the resources of Ford Motor Company to lean into problems to help be creative and be good partners to our nonprofit partners across the globe.
That's beautiful. Right. That's the why of many of us getting out of bed in the morning, right? Is to just make this place better. And I love that you're there doing exactly that. As we continue to look at the future and all of this interconnectedness, can you talk to me? Because I think one of the biggest pieces is not just right that technology, which we need to embrace because technology is here, but also the human touch. Can you talk to me about the focus on that human-to-human connection, why that's so important?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the heart of what we do, to be honest, right? We do this for the humanity of it. We do this to be connected to people and to each other. So as we look towards the next decade, we're really entering an era where 211 will evolve from a response system into a proactive nerve center, the way I like to talk about it. And really to succeed, we have to master the balance of high tech and high touch. It's really essential that we embrace new technology, not to replace the human element, but to unburden it and to really create more of a balance for the folks that are at the core of doing this work and at the core of why we do this work. In the next 10 years, we're really going to see an explosion in the use of AI, predictive analytics, and even more sophisticated community information exchange systems, right? We have a great one in Michigan, but that work is only going to get amplified in the coming years. Technology is really incredible at the logic of finding help, finding the nearest pantry, checking availability requirements in real time, or tracking closed loop referrals. But technology cannot navigate the unprogrammable complexities of human crises. A computer can't find a homeless shelter, it can find a homeless shelter, but it cannot sit with a mother who's expecting or experiencing trauma and the shame of losing her home. That is something that only a human can do. So finding that perfect balance between what technology and AI can do for us and what we need humans to do is going to be the sweet spot of the success of the system moving forward.
I love it. And that sweet spot, I think, is amplified by, right, that human to human. And we know the humans who are answering our calls at 211 are just no other word than awesome, amazing. There's just so much that they do. And if you could say one thing to those 211 specialists, those who are on shift on 211 day, those who are picking up the call in the middle of the night, who are talking to a person who may be losing their home, what is a message you would give to our frontline?
And I have such a soft spot for everyone that does that because, I've been in the work for so many years around these folks and led many of these teams. So I guess my message would be to them, and it's so easy for them to get lost in all of the trauma and the crises that they're dealing with day in and day out. It would really just to tell them that you're not just answering a phone. You are the architects of a more connected and compassionate Michigan. In a world of philanthropy and government, we spend a lot of time talking about systems and data and infrastructure. But today, you are the system. The folks answering those phones, you are the system. You are the human interface of a massive high-tech collaboration network that we've spent years building. When you take a call today, remember these three things. You are the digital handshake, period. You are the gatekeeper between folks in crises and a vast, massive amount of technology and information and data that can be so overwhelming. Secondly, you are the voice of the entire safety net. You not only represent this mountain of data and resources behind you, but you also represent that person in crisis, that individual, that family, that mother that's homeless, that's looking for a shelter. You represent that person to the massive bureaucracy of state systems and budgets and everything else and technology that doesn't understand necessarily the experience that single mom is having that's struggling on the streets. So you really are the voice of the entire safety net. And thirdly, your data is our compass. We talk a lot about entering information right in the system, right? The boring part of our work to all these people that have amazing hearts. But the data you're entering into the system is our compass. It helps direct and guide everything we do, from local 211 leaders to statewide leaders to leaders at the state government to philanthropy. We rely on 211 data to help guide our philanthropic endeavors. We use that data to understand where are service gaps, where are need gaps occurring across the country. So it is super important. I would say my final word to you is what you do is high tech and high touch in equal measures. You manage the complexity of the system so that the person on the other end of that line not only feels the help, but they feel the simplicity of being heard.
Oh, that is power, right? And that is, I think, why we're all here. Making sure that those folks who don't always have a voice, and we can stand there with them. And I love so much, Hassan, that you joined us. Thank you for your insight. Really, thank you for your inspiration, your continued dedication to people, to humans, to the experience. To our audience, 211 is here for you 24/7. And those people who are picking up that phone really are truly the gem of our system. They are heroes. Whether you need help with housing, food, utilities, if you need someone to listen, you're not alone. Help is available. If you know someone who needs help, don't wait. Just dial 211 or text your zip code to 898-211 right now. And for those of you who want to support the heroes we've talked about, visit my211.org to learn how you can get involved. Don't forget to follow us on social media to hear more stories and the impact of the heroism that we see every single day here at Michigan 211. Happy 211 Day, everyone. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to having you with us next time on From Hello to Help.